Hello, everyone. Welcome to another horrific review. Well, finally, I feel like I've been talking about this movie for a year now. um, uh, I'll not lie, I was a bit nervous getting into it because normally have a talk about the movie with the directors, producers, some of the cast, reacting to the trailer for it. The anticipation's building. You don't want it to be horrible and then like just like, oh god, but I like these guys and I don't want to lie about it and come across. You know me, I can't put on a false face. So we're talking about A Kid from Somewhere. This is by Acrostar Film. So as you know, I've talked to these guys a number of occasions about this, and we've featured the sort of progress of the movie, and finally got to watch it just before I come on here. I'll say it did not disappoint. I'm really relieved. I was worried that this was going to be farcical or fall flat or something, but no, genuinely enjoyable movie. Now, it's done in the 1950s style. There's a lot of nods and winks, and they really could have hammed it up and made it, like I said, farcical, but they didn't. They use a lot of the. Yeah, me too. Because, like I said, it's all right to be critical of a movie and talk about stuff, but it's harder when you've actually got a face between. You know what I mean? You've actually got names and you engage with people, but I still have to stay objective. At the end of the day, I'm not doing anybody a service if I'm just like, oh, I like you, everything you do is great. It's the same as anybody critiques my stuff. I expect honesty and not just when I hated it, but where went wrong or where something fell flat, so then I can improve. And I think that's the best sort of support. So it does exactly what it says in the tin. There's nothing hidden about the trailer, if that makes sense. It's done in that style. I'll go through the plot sort of briefly, but I don't want to spoil it, if that makes sense. It's one of those movies you're not gonna, how do I put it? You're not going to be disappointed if you know the plot beforehand. This is one of those movies. It's more about the experience. So what I will say is, if you're not on board, basically, if you're expecting your typical horror movie, if you're expecting like super modern special effects and sensibilities and all that kind of stuff, you're not going to enjoy this movie. Right? This is a love note to an era, which, if you think about that time, like I grew up black and white movies, and the limitations, it took a long time. It's funny enough, like movies, the cinema has been around since the 1920s, I believe. I should have maybe, one day I'll take notes and do research, but that's not the point of these sort of streams anyway. It's about reacting to a movie. I'm doing one of my deeper discussions, and obviously I'll do a bit more research and stuff, but cinema has been around since the 1920s, maybe a bit earlier, because if you think about silent film, it took a long time to transition from stage acting, because right up until the 60s, it was still performed with that stage acting in mind. So this is one of these movies that pays homage to that. That was the limitations. The cameras also still had to do that because you don't have the sound quality, the technology, especially with the sound. So actors were still performing as if it was on a stage to an audience. Sorry, excuse me, from frog in the throat before I started. Sorry, I'm gonna. Yeah, so that's all. You have to bear all that in mind. Like I said, you have to come in with this with the sort of love of the era and the positives, what it tried to do, and understand the limitations and the fact that it still made movies. And once again, it's about the plot, it's about the acting, it's about all that kind of stuff. Things, the heart of the movie. So what we get here is, as it starts off, we've got a spaceship entering into the Earth's atmosphere. Now, I'll say this for a plot point. The supreme leader of Corksar is not very bright. And is there only one spaceship in the entire fleet? Because why does one spaceship have to carry out 2 missions at once? First of all, they're picking up this creature to bring back the Multiply as an invasion force, but they're also surveying the Earth. Now, that doesn't say much about the Khazorian. Khazorian, would that be right? I don't know. Probably gets told off that, but the Khazorian Empire mustn't be very good if it has like the one ship that does everything. They pick it up and then just be traveling past Earth, and it's like Supreme Leader's like, well, while you're on your way back, look at the planet we're going to invade with the important creature that we're going to need for the invasion. Because what could go wrong? But aliens, man. So of course, that happens. I love what they do. Right, the flying saucer is, all them tinfoil plates that you get that pies are on, or you buy like a pack for £1 and they're done for parties. That's the flipping flying saucer on a bit of string going, woo. But that's the way it was bloody done back in the day, so nothing wrong there. But I love the way they used like sort of, it probably wasn't Pathé, but it was Pathé style images back then, the sort of military images also. They mixed that all up together to create the scene, which was done back in the day as well. God, what was it? I remember back in watching V, and they recycled the same 4 shots. Or remember the Airwolf TV show where it was the same 3 shots, of Airwolf doing everything, and put some acting in between, and recycle the shots. This is exactly what this is like. The ship itself, like, it's something off a cheap studio, and I know it's done deliberately. The curtain at the back, the household appliances made to look like space stuff. The best thing was the camera shaking, the curtain wobbles. That was obviously done deliberately. Like I said, this could have fallen into farce, except the characters all played straight. Props to the characters in this, the actors, because I'm sure there's plenty of giggling behind the scenes. But you had to, great comedy. And once again, it's not meant to be comedy, but it is. The best way I can put it. Because they're playing straight as the movie. Think back in the day of, I'll say it. Actually, I need to watch that again, actually. Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. You have your 2 comedians, but you also have Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi, and I can't remember who played Wolfman. God, I'm an idiot. But they played it straight as their characters. If they hadn't played it straight, then the whole thing would have fallen apart, and that's what you kind of need. You need belief in what you're doing, but yeah, the space scene, coming into Crash Land was brilliant. And Quasar of Corksar is the star of this show, right? Her character is brilliant. She's the reason you watch this movie, just to see Quasar be Quasar. What can I say? She's like the one of the lieutenants of the Empire, the squad leader or whatever. The way she keeps that like face straight the whole time and doesn't buckle, I don't know, because I don't know if I could do it. I need about 3 takes. I'm like, I'm actually doing this. But yeah, they seem to come to crash, and it's like get into the emergency crash land seats, and then they both sit in 2 deck chairs. It also goes to show as well how much black and white hit everything. Think back to Lost in Space, the TV show. Remember, it started out in black and white and then moved to Technicolor, and you can tell that the studios didn't know what to do with color, because that's why they said to use every color possible to hide everything, because they were kind of crapping themselves. Black and white. If you mask something or mute it over, you can get away with so many mistakes, and it actually shows in this movie. Because if that was done just straight in color, modern, you just see it was bits of stuff. But the black and white hue gives everything a mask and actually a reality, which good thought piece when you think that it's being done as an homage to the period. But yeah, this is just done. It's cheesy. The crash land. Got the town, got all the townspeople. There's actually quite a range of characters. This I was expecting this done maybe half a dozen characters, but there's actually quite a few people involved in this, and a lot of inflation. Do you know what I mean? Flotation. But that's what they did back in the day with the effects. It was whatever they could do, because don't forget, this was like the first time sci-fi is a tricky one to pull off. You're trying to imagine a world, you're trying to imagine technology beyond the scope, and I'd say actually today science fiction is harder than it was back then, because I remember there's this periodical magazine I got called Quest. It was a scientific mag, and I remember them talking about mobile phones in the future, that it would be an earpiece, but you'd have to be next to basically the old style phone booth, but it was like a receiver. Technology has not only caught up, but overtaken and left behind. Like Star Trek, let's say no more about that. The idea of what they were bringing is just natural now. Like even the more modern ones, like Deep Space Nine. Remember they were going around with tablets, and that was like the modern age. Now it's nothing. Even though they tried, what was it, the Mission Impossible ones, or what was that other one with Snoozy Boy in it? The future thing, where they went back in time to stop crime before happening, and they didn't do all the wavy stuff as if it's a screen. Sure, that's available now. So basically, whatever science fiction is trying to imagine is either on the cusp of being invented, or already in first production, or it's already out there. So it's hard, but at least back then you could imagine what the future was like, or alien transport, or anything. So I think I don't know, I think maybe better time to be imagining stuff, but then that's what they did. They just, you might laugh at it now, but that's what they genuinely thought. They had no clue. Brilliant. Yeah, but to pull this off, like they give the whole heart and feel with a wee bit of a nudge and a wink, which that's what you needed. But they give the nudge and a wink because they really could have done this. Like the mask could have slipped, and this could have been just turned into a cheesy farce, and it didn't. I think that's what kind of keeps you engaged. I think I'll say that again. Yeah. I'm just trying not to go through the plot and spoil it, because I want you to check it out. Link in the description, by the way. Do it. But yeah, they crash land. The creature they've got on board escapes, and then that's a whole plot then to try and find the creature, to bring it back, to replicate it, to bring it back to Earth in thousands. Because it was the first one. So did they grow it? And why were they growing it inside a spaceship? That's the kind of that's the niggly bit of the plot is getting at me. Why did the thing that they need to invade the Earth, even though they're laughing at the puny technology, but the Jedified shot it down, and they're obviously their fleet isn't big enough, so they have to deal with monsters. Like, but then I suppose that was the sort of plots that came up. It's easy to know, just didn't worry about continuity, or nerds hadn't really been invented yet. I think the birth of the nerd came in the 80s. I could be wrong, but I think definitely the nerd did not exist, where us sados would sit and nitpick through every single detail. I don't think filmmakers would have survived. Like filmmakers from the 50s would have survived today. They would have been broken, because you've got these people obsessed. No, sorry. Tolkien. J.R.R. Tolkien, that man was tortured. People would have got his phone number, and obviously transatlantic, Americans would have rung him at like 3 o'clock in the morning and stuff. They ask him questions about the Elvish language and stuff. So yeah, the nerd was definitely born of Tolkien. My apologies, I just think it back now. But in terms of sci-fi, like this is done. You can picture this being a radio show, and I've got a love for those old style radio shows. Part of the reason I do narrated fiction because it's a good way to try and bring some of that back. But yeah, the old serial radio show where you had this episode and then they had to use sound effects and it was all done live and then it was left up to people's imaginations. You got that whole feel because that was the era of like the radio and the TV and this kind of stuff coming into like the masses, if that makes sense. Right. There's an interesting question posed during this. Who is the monster? Because the monster does the thing. It's very similar to Frankenstein. No, you can see the homage to Frankenstein's monster here, especially with props to not just the fact that when I looked at the credits, half the Hefner family seems to be involved in this. For Palladius folks, but the wee girl, Delilah, she was brilliant. Especially there's a scene where she does scream, she just does a like really proper overacting. Fair play to that wee girl for what she did. Sci-fi stuff these days. Yeah. Even in horror stuff these days because of like high definition TVs. Good example, when we did the review of Suspiria, and what they did was, and unfortunately, the people who are doing these 4K upgrades of old movies are forgetting. They just think they clean it up and then that's it, it's better. And nobody's reviewing it and going, actually, we need that graininess. There's a particular scene with a dog. And when they did the 4K restoration, it was a hand puppet. It really looked like a hand puppet. So the 4K restoration actually ruined the old movie with the tricks and the mist and that, hid the fact that it was a hand puppet. And nobody. This is the old question. Just because you can do something doesn't necessarily mean you should. And everyone's so caught up with shiny things. And actually, another reason why I'm enjoying this movie is because it remembers the time before shiny things. Everyone has come so stuck up their own backsides in terms of, if it's not ultra high definition, laser balling into both of my eyeballs and kicking my brain in and flashy lights, I don't want to do it. Like, it was funny enough because those two young ladies, Maya and Magdalena, who's in this, they're saying themselves that they have a problem. And it's definitely a generational thing that they can't watch a program without playing the phone. It's actually got this stage now, you need that stimulus. I saw it in the 90s. I used to do youth work. And even back then, I was still of a generation where I could sit quietly and read a book, or I needed quiet to do my homework. Where kids were already, like, and this is only 8 years below me, needed noise. If the room was silent, they couldn't cope. And now that's been taken up to the nth degree, where it's not just audio but visual. Need constant stimulus. That's why short form content is like the shorts I put up in this channel now are doing 100 times better than this because I'm already 19 minutes and 12 seconds too long for the attention span of most people, which is mental. Just mental how we got there, and people don't know how to self-regulate anymore or dial it back. And this harkens to an era where self-regulation and dialing back things was just part of it was just part of things. It was a part of the culture, and it was played out nicely. This could have been preachy, you know, updated for a modern audience. Thankfully, it wasn't. It was playing, and it wasn't done nastily. This could have been, if the wrong people had done this, it could have been just poking fun at the era and the people, which is just nastiness, I think. Thankfully, I mean, you've seen them, we've talked to them, they're good guys, they genuinely love their art. They understand the change in the world. But at the same time, there's nothing wrong. You don't have to burn everything to live in a modern age. It's weird. Yeah, but once again, back to the nastiness, and that's what this is something, and it is tied in here. At least this movie was made with love for the era and the positive. Like, no era is perfect. People think we're living in perfection now or a certain thing, but we're living in one of the nastiest times ever. Like, people proper want to destroy each other. It's freaking weird. They did it with what do you call it? That stupid Amazon show. I couldn't even watch it. Even the trailers were enough. It just it's about power. If you give the wrong people power, they just want to tear down because they can't create themselves. That's why I always talk when I talk about people. I talk about social media. I talk about creators, how to get past it. It's always that's why I always ask my guests, have you dealt with nastiness in social media and how did you get past it? Because I want that message out there that it's not going to destroy you. It doesn't have to stop you. These Muppets mean nothing in the scheme of the world. They don't make anything. They don't create anything. They offer no value. They divide people rather than bringing people together. It's shit. I hate it. And it's now come into horror. You see a lot of these sort of idiots in horror, and they're destroying when they're trying to anyway bring this shite in and divide people, and even making, if you like this movie and not this one, or if you didn't like this remake or that, and you're like, really? And horror's always been full of all the weirdos and outcasts, and nobody cares because it's, if you like what you like, it's because the revulsion normies have against horror and horror fans. We accept anyone if you love what we love. It's the whole thing with nerd culture, which is weird why these people have latched on nerd culture while simultaneously hating it. And sci-fi is completely destroyed, but shame really. So it's good to see that. And this is done wholesome. Oh, by the way, no boobies. I suppose better make that point. We've had 2 movies in a row with all heavily featuring boobies. This one doesn't. So you get a break from boobies. If you've had your boobie fill for the week, yeah, you're good with this movie. It's done sort of wholesome family setting with a bit of murder. One thing we do get very familiar with Space Treaty 45-0-5-21. A lot of fun, and that's the thing. It says, while the main plot is the hunt for the monster, the side plot is who's the real monster in this, and I'll not spoil that. That's kind of what goes along, and the scene gets kind of replayed with the Frankenstein monster thing. When the see the monster, very clever. I love the overacting, and it's ungenuine because, like I'm saying, it's back into the stage acting sort of era. That's why people had to perform, even for the cameras to pick up the sound. You had to act as if you're on a stage. Check out Little Shop of Horrors, the original 1960 version, and you'll see what I mean. That's an argued one. Still holds up. Still funny. Yeah. Another thing that got me though was somebody would get taken out, and people would go, ah, cry for about 2 seconds, and then next scene they're completely over it, just okay. And there was even one scene in particular, it's like, ah, and then just stepped over the body and carried on. Like, okay, that's where we're at. That's funny, but played it straight, just brilliant. Um, Definitely. I didn't get the whole Luma Patty romance. Um, I get why it was a plot device, but it was kind of just sort of you sort of went along with it. Sorry, it wasn't horrendous. It wasn't 100% sold, but it was done in that overacting kind of thing. You know, you meet somebody 5 minutes and you're, oh, I'm in love. It was funny, but wasn't really. I don't know. I think Luma's character, and there's a bit where he jumped back into. I think I don't know why it was done deliberately, but he sort of jumped back into his American accent for a second, and then you know, I don't know if that was done deliberately. If it was, fair play, because the kind of played that one straight. But yeah, that was kind of the weakest part of this movie. I think. I think it would have been better if Patty had convinced them of humanity with kindness or something. You know, that would have done rather than the sort of love story. I think maybe because of the time of the movie, it just seemed a bit too much too quick. Where there's an opportunity there. I think that they could have done a Star Trek style. That's what I'll say. Had we done Star Trek style original series, obviously not the modern hateful shite, but where the question was posed and it was done in the series, but what if? I think Kirk did it better than Picard. Picard was more intellectual type of, you know, oh, this is the debating club sort of thing, where Kirk had more of a passion about him, about humanity and human race. And I think if that had been done, where Quasar was completely unreachable, Luma not so much, I was, you know, open to suggestion. If that had been done rather than the love story, I think that would have fitted in a bit better for me anyway. And maybe something at the end, but not within 20 seconds of the, you know, being alone together and all of a sudden they're in love. It was a bit then again, I'm a yeah, the intent basically and it says in the trailer as well, so it's a prelude for an invasion force. That's what I'm saying. They're surveying the planet in preparation for invasion while at the same time carrying the device that's going to wipe the planet out. You know, Supreme Commander of Corksar is yeah, he needs to learn to delegate a bit better and utilize resources. That should have been two separate ships, one taking the thing back, but then the plot wouldn't have happened. And that's the sort of stuff they threw together. In fact, they still do it today. Look at any TV show. Freaking look at modern sci-fi franchises with their plots. They definitely throw stuff together to get those sticky notes. Go, we'll do this, we'll do that. Right, there's your plot. Yeah, I don't want to label the point too much. Like I said, go watch it. It's worth it. Um, it's good to see that someone's prepared to spend the time with modern technology and just leave all that to the side and put the effort into making this movie. And it wasn't difficult, right? Put it like this, it wasn't a difficult looking movie to make. They didn't go board trying to make it a spectacular, but it was enjoyable and it fitted. Like I said, apart from the love scene, the love thing was a bit too much too fast. When they had time, you know, I mean, they had time in this movie to do it. They could have had a bit more fun, like I said, playing with the intellectual side of things. And they could have done that in the 50s as well. Absolutely nothing wrong. They did sort of touch it. Why do you hate us? And that, you know, it played played about that, so it was possible to do it. That's my only real complaint. Nothing to do with the way it was played or anything, just that plot point just didn't fit well with me. But there's the fact they could have cheated with us. They could have used CGI. They could have used a lot of modern devices and spray painted them over and stuff, but they didn't. They did it in the whole. I mean, it looked difficult to make in terms of the props and stuff. Looked as if effort went in, and they were thinking in that zone. So there was a challenge here to stay in the zone of the 50s to make this movie, and that's what I really appreciated about it. Yeah, so there you go. I'm glad I wasn't disappointed. I was nervous. I'll not lie. I was like, "Oh God, please don't be terrible. Please don't be something I hate," because that's going to be really awkward doing this review if it had been the case. I'm not saying it won't happen. It's not going to happen, but not everything's going to be a blinder. There'll be something that might be too fussed on. But I'm glad I enjoyed this. Definitely worth the watch. Please check it out. These are great guys and have lots of projects on the go. And this is what we need to do. Rather than waste your money on companies who hate you, absolutely, because there's the perfect example, even back then, of Hollywood hubris, of lazy executives getting a ton of money. There you go. We need you to do something. We don't care what it is. Just stick this label on it, and we'll pump it out. And the stupid people will buy it. These folks crowdfunded. They're prepared to come on to little tiny shows like me and talk to me about their projects. They're happy to give me time of day support. They're happy to talk to anybody. They're also happy to work with authors, at least start the conversation about trying to bring some of their stories to life. These are the sort of people that what are you paying? A couple of quid? You may as well. You can rent it. You don't have to buy it. You can rent it, and that all helps because it bumps them up the algorithm. It makes them more, more visible. Something gets, the more renowned their brand becomes, the easier it is for people then to, oh, who are these guys? Oh, they did that. Oh, I like that. And it helps with future projects. And that's what it's all about. For the sake of a cup of coffee, you can watch, you can support an indie movie. And it's not, how much guff do you watch on TV? How much time do you spend on the internet listening to it? It's like me. Do you know what I mean? So give it a go. You're not wasting your time. Yeah, if you do watch this, let me know. Please leave in the comments. And obviously, as more projects come out, I'll be keeping an eye on as well as my normal reviews, other reviews, other movies, and starting to now talk to more independent directors, which is fun. So it means I'm having like a personal connection, if that makes sense. So that's going to be a challenge for me when I'm reviewing something, to remain honest while forming basically a bond with the people that are doing it. So here, it makes it more interesting and hopefully more for you because you know where I'm coming from then. And that's it. Hope you enjoyed the review. There you go. Keep up to date with the channel. Plenty going on. I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow and Friday. I'm on Dragonlance's channel this weekend. I'll put a community tab up. We're Cameron and I are doing another, and yeah, we're doing is it Mutant Vampires we're doing this weekend? I think we are. I think we're doing Mutant Vampires. So there's another independent director, and we panned his movie. The movie we watched, we absolutely panned it. And fair play to him. He accepted it for what it was, and he's like, well, check that stuff out, and so will. It wasn't that, you know what I mean? You can be critical and not be nasty, and still you just go with a blank slate when you look at the next movie. And once, if you see a pattern, obviously, then you can make a decision about directors or production companies, all that good stuff. But in the end, it's a journey. You know, you never know what you're going to get. Some good, some bad, some brilliant, some terrible. You know, that's half the fun of exploring. And once again, know why you like something, know why you don't. That's the main thing. Good. Sold. One customer. That's what I always say. If I can get one person to check out any of the contributing artists, I've done my job. Because that's one person that wasn't there before. So fair play to you, Chris. Please, in the comments, let us know what you thought of it. There you go, folks. So I'll leave it there. Hope you enjoyed this. On until next time, keep it creepy, keep it horrific.